so that people might detect it in someone, and then well, for me, what happened was the police and the court system caught me, and if they hadn't have, I would still be out there. I'd probably be dead right now. So it's very important. These, I tell you, they've been my lifesavers. And when I was coming off, you're real depressed when you come off. And if it hadn't have been for the guilt that I had needing to walk them, I wouldn't have gotten out of the house. So they've really been a big help for me. Anyway, what I remember from when I used was there were a lot of face contortions. I can't really imitate them because they're not consciously done. But I've seen, you know what I've seen in other people, because I don't look in the mirror when I'm high, but was, you know, they just move their face in funny ways and make strange movements with their mouth and things like that. And they're, you know, really. And if there's a quick sound, any kind of startle, a ring, that's a lot of the times, that's why coke addicts won't answer the phone, is the ring of the phone scares them so badly that they won't answer it. A knock on the door, any quick noise or movement, you'll see a startle reaction. There's a lot of paranoia, a lot of fear in giving out information because they don't know what that information's getting used for. It was very difficult for me to sit still. I knew in some instances I had to sit somewhere, so I would mess around with stuff in my purse constantly, or write, or file my nails, or just anything to try and keep my mind from going wild. The thoughts moved real fast. I tended to make lots of promises, you know. Oh, does your son like this? Oh, okay, I'll do that with him, or I'll, you know, all sorts of promises. Just real excited about things. Some people, I tend to talk a lot. You can't tell. But a lot of people I've noticed when they get high too, they don't talk at all. They just freeze up and they look down. You know, I always looked down a lot when I felt like I was, especially when I was going to lie. I wish the phone would stop ringing. Anyway, I think a lot of it had to do with growing up with me. I was sober when he was just a baby, and then I relapsed when his dad died, and then I got sober, and then I relapsed. But anyway, let's see. Fiddling around, talking. A lot, like my neighbor, I remember her, she would get real quiet, and of course her jaws are clenched. She looked down a lot. They're always looking for something, you know. I mean, seeing if they drop something or just anything, looking for stuff. And there's a definite tendency to take things, don't leave things lying around, because for no obvious rhyme or reason, I would take stuff. And there's just no explanation. I didn't pawn it or anything, I just pack-ratted it. Now I'm gonna unplug that. And solve that whole problem. I used to really like this one musician, Nick Drake, and I found out why later. He was suicidal, and of course when you do coke, you're extremely suicidal. Not necessarily when you're doing it, well of course you are kind of doing a short, slow suicide, but he committed suicide, and it's just a lot. It's funny how you're attracted. I can spot someone, you know, walking down the street if they're high or not, because it's just certain movements and certain behaviors, and it's hard to put a finger on them. But what were you saying? I can't say I was always a typical on this, but this was my main reason for guilt. Here comes my son. He lived through a lot of this. Say hi.
Out, we're down now. I don't know, she knows her more about it than me.
But what did you see when I did use? What was it you were saying? Oh, I got
It's tweaked out.
of course.
Run 100 miles an hour. Oh, I can't stop talking most of the time.
My son's shy too, but he wanted me.
Always look, how do you say it? I mean, when I was at the club, working at clubs, I could always tell who was coming in all messed up already because their eyes, your eyes give it away. Like you're there, but you're not. You can look someone dead in the eyes when they're strung out on whether it's cocaine or anything really, and just look at them and tell. Lights on, but nobody's home.
I know my eyes looked scary, and they tend to be real wide.
Yeah.
Real wide. When I remember, and one thing I really wanted to say, and I know it may not have anything to do with it, but when I used, the dogs always hang around me normally. They leave the room. That's how my son caught me one time, was that the dogs left the room and came into his room and he knew something was up. But it just gives, they just give off, I guess the main thing, you could go by your gut. If something feels strange, it probably is, and I think that you send off quite a negative feeling. My dogs will attack someone that uses. They hate, they bit people. They just, Sissy, say hi. Say hello. Say hi. Say hi. Oh, say hi. Anyway, let's see, and we're talking about, you were saying, and someone would be overusing. There was this one friend of mine, Sean, and we'd sit and play jigsaw puzzles, and Andrew couldn't have been 3 or 4 years old, and he would start asking him questions that he didn't even give a darn about. He was just messing with him. He did. And I could walk out of the bathroom, and Andrew would know I'd done something, and he would start in on me, wanting this, wanting that, or just complaining. But, the kids notice it first thing off. They really do. Things I really wanted to mention. There was another thing. I had a habit of doing this. I was always cleaning my eye. But, they'll get some little weird thing that they want to do, and they'll continuously do it. Get down from
A lot of people's natural tendencies, some people are very animated with their hands. Some people are,
Oh, wait, what are you doing?
well, because she couldn't see the reflection of the...
Oh, how'd you know?
I saw
But she
her hand.
needs the light.
Oh, do you? It's like some people are very animated with their hands. Well, whenever they get strung out or high, whatever you want to call it, it gets doubled. Like my mom would, like she said, with her clean her eyes. Well, I could always tell when she was high because just this morning I made a comment when the house is up clean. I normally never used to see you clean the house. It was always at 2 or 3 in the morning when you're cleaning. I was asleep and I'd get woken up, to a vacuum at 4 in the morning. What are you vacuuming at 4 in the morning for? I mean, really?
Oh, shoot, I go out and wash the car in the middle of the night. My neighbors really, I didn't have to worry about anyone coming in my house. They were scared of me. They all thought I was crazy, but I was. Things. A lot of problem with time. Late. Always late. Lose track of time. Sometimes I would spend 24 hours getting ready to go. I plan on going somewhere that particular day and not get there till the next day. And you just get going. There's always something you forgot to do, always something. Gosh. Wanting to go into psychology now? Yeah, you may not want to go. And so if you ever know anyone wants an intern, this kid works very hard and he's always on time.
I can't think what I was going to say.
That happens a lot too when you just the halfway house. And they give Klonopin. What else do they give? They give narcotics to people that are coming off drugs, and I don't understand why they're doing that. She has a terrible time with them stealing the drugs from each other, but because most of them are dual diagnosis, and I really wish the doctors would be more aware of that. And a lot of people, there's a guy on my street, major drug addict, does not think he's a drug addict because he doesn't shoot it or smoke it, he just eats it. So he gets all sorts of pills and just abuses the heck out of them. So I really wish the doctors would be more aware of that, and not just because they say they're not doesn't mean they're not. It's real easy. When I gave birth to Andrew, a month later I had to go in for my checkup, and they told me I needed surgery. Well, let me back up. I had a C-section with Andrew, and they gave me Percodan. I hadn't used in 2 or 3 years. Needless to say, I called the doctor and got the Percodan refilled, and I didn't need it, and I knew I didn't need it. But it's just, another time I was clean and I started eating Sudafed for a cold. I'm not kidding you, and I relapsed. Talk about Jacob. Didn't he do steroids?
Yeah, he did for a little bit.
I mean, he's crazy.
What happens is basically is that you just get guys like under the pressure, like for instance football, because that's really what I know mostly about. Like the pressure to perform, because everyone is born with a different athletic ability, so to speak. And I'm not trying to stereotype or anything like that, but generally African Americans they just tend to be more athletic inclined. So guys like me, I've never used or anything like that, but I know a bunch of guys, even in high school, who to try to get ahead, to try to get those scholarships, to try to stand out on the field, start doing, now ephedra's banned, but it's easy to get it. Once you get into start going to gyms, you talk to guys who obviously just look bigger than they ever should be. It's just obvious. It is to me, and it might not be to everyone, but when guys are using, not necessarily ephedra, but there's hundreds of different kinds of steroids for lifting weights and getting in shape. But when they're using, you always hear stories about roid rage and the mood swings. It's almost just like it is a drug addiction because it's just different side effects really. And you have side effects of the roids are the mood swings. And you have that with other addictions too. They'll go calm. I had a roommate who swore up and down for the longest time he wasn't using, but I knew he was. And he would just out of the blue, we would be in the dorm, and his cell phone. We got bad reception in the dorm on our cell phones, and it was just a fact. You knew it. After a week or so of living there, okay, his cell phone doesn't really work good in the dorm. Well, he kept using his cell phone inside, and it kept getting cut out and stuff. And he would literally, one day, I came back into the room from working out, and he had punched the window out of our dorm because his cell phone cut out of him. And he was sitting in the chair next to the window and just went boom and hit the window. And it's just I had to say, Jacob, now, what's the point of that? And it was just I don't know, man, I just did it. And then other times he would walk out of the room, and our room was right on an L shape of the hall. So we had one wall wasn't another dorm, it was the hallway, and then to our left was actually another room. So he would walk out and go into the hallway, and you could hear boom, boom, him hitting the wall as he went down the hallway. And it's just good Lord, what are you doing? Is it really worth it? And eventually, I talked to him recently, a couple weeks ago probably, and he finally was yeah, he just doesn't care anymore. He just got caught up in the moment of trying to be that best athlete that he can be, and he finally, basically what happened is he ran out of money and couldn't keep supporting it, and so he had to come down off of it. And once he was down off of all his steroids from lifting out and working out and everything, he realized that he saw all the side effects and how he was when he was on them.
So he doesn't try to fight you anymore or anything?
No. Well, I could get that.
Well, I know, but he used to try and fight you. And
last time he did, he got whooped.
Is that why he was so nice when we moved?
I don't know. He just recently stopped using them because he was doing a bodybuilding competition. A lot of guys, this is what happens too. I know a lot of guys that play football and went from playing football and using for performance abilities or edges to they kept going and just wanted to stay in shape because they're still on it. They're still got their metabolism going so fast. They have to do something. They just start lifting weights and they become bodybuilders. or vice versa, bodybuilders, who got to find some kind of outlet and they're not lifting, getting that rush anymore from lifting. They'll, you see a lot of guys go try to join, semi-pro football teams or semi-pro, soccer teams, whatever, something for an outlet, because you get all that energy built up in you that you've just gotta do something. And either fighting is one of the things, going lifting weights, wear yourself out is it, there's always something they've got to be doing because they've got so much energy going through them. Never gonna get a guy who's using steroids, whether it's football team, whether it's working out, bodybuilding, even if he's your own teammate, he's never gonna tell you he's on steroids, because in the long run it really makes him look bad, because it is cheating more or less. And people who don't use it, I would say out of my freshman class at SMU that I knew on the football team, like on the football players, it's not as big as you would think it is, but maybe like 20%, and that's, say we had 40 oncoming freshmen to the team, and that, that's 10 guys maybe, Like Sammy Sosa, when he started, Andro, whatever he used, I don't know what there was investigation on, but he put on 30 pounds, 40 pounds, or no, it was Barry Bonds, put on 40 pounds or 30 pounds of muscle at age 34 or 35, whatever it is, and that almost physically is really impossible.
So
without
you were
using
saying earlier that ephedra makes you...
Well, what it does, ephedra speeds your heart up.
Oh, it doesn't make you make muscles too.
Well, it does, it speeds your heart up and makes you burn more calories, and it gives you like an extra drive, so to speak.
Oh.
Like you can work out longer, you can work out like harder.
Oh, okay, it doesn't, but it's not like steroids. It doesn't make you build muscle.
No, well, I mean, it's
allows you
considered
to have the energy to do it.
It's like a lot of those stacker threes, stacker fours, all those weight gainers that are ephedra free now. Well, they had to come up with a different way because they're basically pumping steroids into your body to make you make your heart pump faster, pump more beats per minute, burn more calories, See, steroids and ephedra, all that elevates your body temperature. So like your average body temperature for a normal person is like 98.6. Well, I mean, this isn't a stat or something, but say your average body temperature for someone who's on ephedra is 99. Just that little increase burns, you burn an extra 1,000 calories a day. Your heart, it didn't have ephedra in it, but it had something in it. What was it? I can't even think of it now, but I don't know, I can't think of the name of it, but it was real popular about 3 years ago. Got a GNC. You remember? I bought it once.
I know.
A lot of, college, like in college and living around the dorms, I saw it a lot too. Like Adderall and Ritalin. If you have a prescription Adderall and Ritalin, you'll be everyone's friend, because everyone wants to do it. Everyone needs it for studying, needs it for exams, especially around finals, is exam time. You got a bottle of Aldrin, you can sell that for $300 almost, $4 a pill, $5 a pill, depending on the school you're at. Guys
I
are
need
the
some
money.
No, I mean they had me on it, but I get tired since they just switched me to it, and I've been sleeping. I've been taking naps during the day, and I don't normally nap. So go figure.
I mean, I have one friend of mine, he's like my brother. He parties hard, and he can party Scotty.
Oh, Scotty.
And the only time I can ever stay up and party with him is if I bring Ritalin with me down to Austin. Only time. I have to take, one Ritalin beginning of the night, and then about like 2 in the morning, I take another one. I keep it up till he passes
so you're
out.
taking Ritalin now.
Whatever. And
are you taking mine?
No, this is whatever. And that's the only way. But he uses other stuff too. But I'm sure I bring Jacob over here. Jacob's got like 19-inch arms.
Yeah.
Big old boy. You've seen that.
That's a tough question.
Relocation.
Not really relocation, no. I think the most effective thing for me is knowing that someone cares about me. To be in a situation where I feel cared for. There is a point there that nothing will help though. I mean, there is a point. But when I look back at what things affected me or encouraged me the most, and that would be the people that show they cared. You know, Dr. Maytag, she never treated me bad when I was using, and I don't know. You just kind of want to do good for some people sometimes. And a lot of times, you know, they say you got to do it for yourself. At the beginning, I truly believe you do it for someone else. Yeah. Andrew, I can't say that he kept me clean, but he kept me alive. You know, I know I'd be dead if he wasn't around.
I do what I can.
With computers.
Oh, yeah.
Worked for a company for
And
about 5
when
years.
he started at 14. He helped them.
Actually, it's the first time since I was 14 I have a job.
He helped them form Network St. Monica's computers. And he was in, what, 8th grade? 7th grade? No, he won't admit it, but he's fine.
What was it like for you growing up with your mom using?
When I was younger, it was I don't know. As I got older and got smarter and realized that no matter what I did, it wasn't going to matter. But when I was young, like, I mean, the earliest time I really ever remember was probably Sharino. I guess it was like 6. And it was, you know, you just grow up fast. You know, I was waking myself up for school, eating breakfast, riding my bike to school, coming back home from school. And school, granted, it wasn't that far. It was maybe a mile on my bike, and it took me 5 minutes maybe. But still, it's just those little things that, you know, as I'm older, you know, and it really.
Tell them what you said last night.
What?
I mean, about me not showing up. You never knew if I was going to be there.
Well, I was going to get to that. Like, you know, there's those little things they start to end up, you know, and your friend, you see your friends, they don't have to do certain things. And like when I got into grade school, really, you know, 5th, 6th grade, when I was really old enough to sort of have more of a say in what I wanted to do and not, so to speak, you know, I'm 6, 7, I've got to, you know, you don't have a lot of freedom. You know, when I started getting older, and, you know, sports teams with my friends and stuff, and, you know, you get out of practice, and you know, like we talked about last night, you know, not knowing if I was gonna, you know, majority of the time, probably 60-70% of the time, I got rides home. Never knew if I'd count my mom to show up. At one point, I just stopped asking her to come pick me up. Yeah, I didn't get a ride home. You know, coming home, my mom was gonna be asleep, gonna be awake. You know, what's for dinner? You know. You know, I got homework to do. You know, you learn to do your own thing. You learn to, you know, as I got older, and I probably realized this pretty, you know, fast, that I was the one. It was going to be me that made myself, you know, go to school. Because I'm sure, you know, there's times I, you know, swindle my way out of class every day. You know, Mom, I don't want to go to school today. Okay, whatever. But you know, I'm sure I could have just as easily skipped out, not going to school, you know, for a week, not done anything, you know, done whatever I wanted. But it realized, and it really helped me, honestly. What helped me was being like what she said, knowing people cared. Going to a school, I was fortunate enough going to a school that I was around other families, I was around other people, friends of mine who were more than willing, more than, you know,
They
got along.
him in.
I would, you know, I could count numerous of friends. You know, all my good friends knew my mom was a drug addict, even when I was, you know, 6, 7 years old. It wasn't discussed, it wasn't talked about. I was too young, I didn't really talk about other parents with it, but it's just one of the things, all right, it's a given. So, well, come on over tonight, Andrew, and we'll take you home later, or weekends, you know, come stay the weekend with us, or
They went vacation.
yeah, you know, just different things like that. And it's just, you know, like, it got, you know, as I got older and, you know, 8th grade rolled around, see, it was always you know, like we talked about, Mom talked about relapsing. So it was always a roller coaster, so to speak. 6 months, okay, 6 months, not okay, 6 months, okay. And I could see it coming. So, I mean, a lot of times I could see it coming, not every time, but, you know, I knew sometimes I'd catch it after a month of her been using, sometimes I'd catch it the first time she started using it again. Sometimes, you know, it just, I'd catch on eventually.
What was the worst thing that ever happened?
Worst thing that ever happened. Wow, how do you narrow that down? One of the things that really sticks out of my mind, worst thing that ever happened was, when I was in high school, and I don't know, I was a sophomore, I think, in high school, and got out of football practice, and, you know, hey, you know, waiting on my mom to come pick me up. Oh, no, I'm alright, guys. You know, hey, you want to ride, Andrew? No, I'm cool, go ahead. You know, she'll be here in a minute. 8 o'clock rolls around. I'm standing out there. My coach finally comes out from doing all his stuff. Hey, Andrew, where's your mom? I'm not really sure, man. You know, she's not here. He says, well, do you want to ride home? And I was like, well, I guess that's probably the only way I'm going to get home now. You know, and so he took me home, and you know, we grabbed food on the way home, and that was the end of it. Never really talked about it, but you know, it was one of those things everyone sort of knew.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the elephant sitting on the kitchen table. Everyone sort of knows it's there and recognizes it, but no one wants to talk about it. And you know, that's probably one of the big things that sticks out in my mind. Or knowing, you know, I don't mean to put, I'm not trying to put you down, Mom, but you know, like knowing like my friends would spend the night sometimes. I still have a great group of friends. There's 4 or 5 of us that grew up from Yates Hall to where we're at now, and knowing that when they come over sometimes, you know, hey, let me, you know, where's your wallet? Let's put it up somewhere. Or knowing that when something like that did happen, and it got blamed on someone else, that, you know, I'm pretty sure I never said anything, let it go over, you know, hey, I tried to make it up to him secretly, however I could, but knowing that it was probably your mom that took the money out of the wallet, you know, there's no one else that would have. I wouldn't have, you know, it's just a fact, and they knew it too, but they weren't going to hold it against me, and it was just one of those things, you know, we'll sort of deal with it, you know.
When did things start to get better?
The final time, I guess she finally relapsed and finally almost killed herself, I think, is what did it. I was going to be a junior in high school, and she had just, I said, you had just gotten released or dismissed. What was that rehab place out in BFE? Wilmer. She just got out of Wilmer. Just, I don't know. I mean, I don't know the full story of that, but you know, she didn't like it there more or less, or didn't want to be there. I don't know. But got against doctor's orders released or something like that, and came back home, and things were bad from the start. I was fed up with her. I didn't really, you know, I've always loved my mom, but I've not always liked her.
What does it mean when you say things were bad?
Well, you know, how old? I was 16 as a junior in high school, and I'm driving. I'm, you know, I grew up majority, you know, maybe half, maybe less of my life. This is me. I do what I want. My mom's in the background, yeah, but you know, whatever. You know, I'll listen to her just to appease her sometimes. So I'm 16. I got a car. I got a little freedom. I really don't have to stick around and deal with her bullshit anymore. It's basically what it comes down to. And she gets out, and I can tell it's still not right. Something's not right here still, you know. You know, we had a lot of animosity towards each other. I was mad at her. I was angry at her. She was angry at me. You know, I tried to handle things the best I could. She went to Wilmer, and I was at the age now that, you know, I could drive by myself. I could basically self-sufficient. I had a job. I, you know, went to school, and really didn't tell anybody while I was in high school for, I don't know, I guess it was the last 2 months of my sophomore year. Maybe this was freshman year.
Well, you had the hardship license.
Yeah,
You
it was freshman
just
year.
got it,
Yeah,
so
this was
you-
freshman year. This is freshman year. You're right. This is freshman year, and this is the last 2 months of my freshman year. She was in rehab, and I don't to this day don't know who knew, but I didn't tell nobody. I went to school for the last 2 months. Went to my finals. Worked all summer. Worked during school. You know. I basically lived by myself. I mean, there was another gentleman there that was sort of supposed to look over me. He was worthless, but I basically was like, whatever, whatever. And so, I mean, for 3 months, 3.5 months, I was me. I did whatever I wanted. I went to school. I went to school every day. Finished out finals. Did all that good stuff. Played football. Worked. It was on my own. I mean, I was 21, 22 right now. So she comes home from rehab, and I guess it's I don't know, the middle of July, something like that. Maybe the beginning. I don't know. It was probably July, and all of a sudden, I don't know if she was. We just didn't get along. It was. I've been on my own for 3 months. I'm still pissed at you. I don't want anything to do with you. You're.
I didn't want him there. I was warned by the police also.
Basically, I knew that too, and
So you didn't want him there because you didn't want him involved?
No, because I knew I wasn't going to answer the door when they came. And I also knew I was going to attempt suicide again. So.
and
Did you know that?
that she was gonna attempt suicide? No, but well, I don't know how to say it, unfortunately or fortunately. It's really a toss up. But I get to that point of the story. I end up moving out. Sit on the 12 mom, I'm leaving. Moved in with some friends that, more than willing to. Another family, yeah. This is like family number 5 or 6, I don't know. But more than willing to help me out. They had the room in their house, and one of their kids was out at boarding school, and so his room was empty, and just more than willing to help me out, and I was grateful for it. But came home one day, and this is summer football, so this is in July, maybe this is 2 days, I don't know, beginning of August, but I hadn't been home about 3 or 4 days. Went home to grab some more clothes, and came home and she was on the floor, passed out. Didn't really know it at the time that she was trying to kill herself, but I didn't care. I was still very upset at her. I think we had gotten an argument the night before or the day before about something. And just was like, looked at her, went in my room, got my clothes, saw the dogs, made sure they were alright. I think I put water down for them or something, walked out. Did call, I was concerned, but not enough to do anything myself. I called, I guess, Linda, who was her friend, still her friend, but her friend that lived a block away. I was like, hey, something's wrong with my mom, I want to go check on her. And I don't know if she did or what, but that was about the extent to it. And I left, and I went on my merry way back to my friend's house and did my own thing. And I don't think it was till maybe September that I moved back in with her. And then she ended up, you ended up going to jail again, didn't you? Finally the cops came and got you, or? Yeah, because I was at home.
No, I went in, but it was just a couple of days or a day or something.
Okay, well, it was.
Because Miss Delk put me back out, and she.
Right. Well, I remember them coming for you because I was at home. I answered the door.
Wait, no, that was another time.
Oh, was it?
I was walking the dogs when they caught me that time. They drove up and they go, Christine. I just kept walking. Like, I didn't think I looked the same. I had been sober for a month or so, or 4 or 5 months. I'd just been out of Rome. I just kept walking, and they says, we know it's you. So.
Was I home when I had you?
No, you weren't home. It's been my major issue going into counseling is trying to figure out how to make the pain and the guilt go away. part of me doesn't even think I deserve to forgive myself. Because I put it through such hell. So I don't know if I hang on to it just to punish myself or what. But it just doesn't seem right that a kid should have to go through what Andrew went through. The first time I was diagnosed manic depressive, and I was already strung out on drugs. I started using drugs from puberty on, and I thought it was the drugs, so I ignored them and went on my merry way, and I used until I was 30. And then I got in trouble. Let me see. I used till I was 30, and then, yeah, I got in trouble. I left town. I met his dad. I stayed sober. Had Andrew. The first couple of years were great, and then his dad died. And so I started having the cycle with the courts again. I mean, it's funny how you always get in trouble when you do drugs. And
Where did I go hand in hand?
well, I didn't feel like I did anything wrong, you know. I really didn't. I didn't know any different. I just those few years that I was married was the only time I was sober in my life, in my adult life. There was a probation supervisor in Dallas court system, Miss Delk, and she keyed in that something was wrong and got me psychiatric evaluation, and they evaluated me bipolar and ADD. And so they started in the regime of trying the medication. And I've seen doctors now since I was 19. I mean, in and out of psychiatric hospitals, psychiatrists. I knew something was wrong. I didn't ever think the drugs, how do you put it? The drugs was just a way to maintain, because there was something wrong since I can remember, since I was 5 years old. There was something wrong. I always felt lonely. I always felt alone. And then, you know, just one doctor after another. I mean, I've been researched and all sorts of stuff, but finally they started the regime of medication, and they tried this and that and the other, and I just, it was a mess. But finally they hit on a mixture, and things went pretty good. I messed up again though. I messed up again after that. I can't remember why, what happened.
What works for you?
It's a strange combination. I'm on Zoloft, Wellbutrin, Zyprexa, Trileptal. I think that's all.
Was there anything that really wasn't helpful at all?
There's
Well,
one
see,
that just
I
made you sleep the whole time. What was that?
lithium,
Lithium?
Seroquel. People had to put me to bed. I would take it. I wrecked the car with it.
Oh, is that when you hit that fire hydrant?
That was when I was doing that research, and so they put me. Well, you think you were pissed? I was scared. The police showed up.
Was it just because it was so sedating?
I think so. I
Did-
don't remember if I was using that.
You were.
Was I? Well, I might have been coming down also.
Because I remember
I
you
was,
were.
because the Seroquel was to get me off the cocaine, and as I was doing the research thing at the Southwestern, and it seemed like I just wanted to use more. And of course that's where Dr. Natick and I hit off so good, because I just tell her, oh yeah, I used, how much you use this week? Oh, I used this much. I mean, it was, I can't, you know, the whole time all my life, I used to walk around with a syringe in my top pocket loaded with dope. I just looked at it as a way to live, and truthfully, I thought 50% of the people out there were using far as I was concerned, how could you survive in this world without using? I couldn't see it. But finally, I don't know what all happened. I don't know if it was God. I don't know what it was. But something clicked. The medication's been right. I got back with my family. Things have just been going okay. I stay involved I stay busy. I go to school and take my medication. And I stay away from AA and NA meetings. Boy, those things are dangerous. I hate to say that, but they just made me think about it. They made me want, and then these other people would say, oh, I did this and that, and I thought, well, I could do more than that. And I would go out and prove it. And I don't know what, it doesn't work for me. So I found that staying very busy. I work in the yard a lot. I work up at the church and school. I help out. I work out every day. I truly believe that it should be mandatory. Anybody on psychiatric medication have to work out. It has just been the most helpful thing in the world, because even on the days when the medication doesn't really kick in, the working out does. I can't do it without. As a matter of fact, I'm addicted to it. I hate to say it, but I work everything around my working out. And I mean, school runs a close second. I don't know. I mean, they're neck and neck, because it's a survival thing for me now to go to school. I've got to get employable. But I can do it without working out.
How long you been clean and sober now?
I don't even know. I mean, I hate to say it, but I really don't know. 2 years, 3 years?
2.5
4
probably.
No,
three.
longer than that.
3 years.
Because it's really...
It was like senior year, probably, finally going into senior year that you finally, I think,
Yeah,
you finally,
senior, so that...
because you wrecked the car. You wrecked the car was one of the last times I think you were using.
Yeah.
And
That was the last time.
that was like summertime,
18,
because we still only had one
19,
car,
20, 21.
right? Then we still only had one car when you wrecked that, and I got my Firebird.
No, we didn't.
No, we didn't.
No.
No, we didn't. We only had one car. That's why I was so pissed, because you wrecked it. My work here.
That's strange. I just, my most vivid memory of being 5 was in the summer, walking down the street with the locusts screaming. And the song that played in my head was Everyone's Gone to the Moon. And that's how I felt. That's how I felt all the time. My mother worked. I had 3 brothers. We all just kind of survived on our own. I mean, we really grew up in a good situation, truthfully. It just, unfortunately, it was a divorced family. And I went to private school, but it just, nothing was ever right. I never fit in. I never knew who I belonged with. I liked to work out. I liked athletics. There weren't athletic programs available for women then. I really think if there had been, I would have had some kind of release.
Did you get in trouble at school?
No, I was a good student.
So did you have mood swings?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I cried a lot. I've always cried a lot. I carry a lot of guilt. I don't know. I never did anything good enough, is what I remember. And my mother was a perfectionist. I get this thing in my throat when I get into the childhood stuff, and my throat wants to close up. But I don't know. I just, it's funny, I put Andrew in the same school I went to, and I wonder if it wasn't for the reason. I went to St. Monica, I put him there, because I knew he would have people that cared around him. Because I liked going to school. If people cared about me, the nuns hugged me. I first started doing methamphetamine. It calmed me down, and I started getting compliments from my mother, and which was something that was real important to me, I think. And she said I acted like a lady, and I was quieter, and I just took more attention to myself. And so for some reason I interpreted that to mean that that's how it was supposed to be. And so I kept using it. And I just got more and more. I mean, my dad used to say, people always used to say, I wandered around a lot. I walked, I rode my bicycle, I walked, I drove, never with anyone, just by myself. And just constantly was on the move. And I don't know where I was going.
Good story.
My family is composed of, let's go back. Well, I don't know too far back, but there was suicide, there was alcoholics, way great in my great aunt and stuff like that. There was gambling addiction on my dad's side. There was still gambling addiction in most of the males in our family. There's heavy obsessive compulsive behavior in most everyone exposed to my mother. My mother was a perfectionist, the perfect Al-Anon, a workaholic. I believe she's depressed. I believe she's still depressed, but she's totally unaware of her feelings. And that's where I learned not to be aware of my feelings. And then I have a brother that's so obsessive compulsive. He's a rageaholic. I swear I don't know what he needs to be on, but he needs to be on something. I have another brother that's diagnosed by ADD, but is not on medication. I have three brothers. All three of us used. Two of us used extremely. One other was pretty active, but Mark and I shot dope, and we were really bad with it. God, what else?
What about your dad?
My dad was an alcoholic. He was a binge drinker. I don't know about depression or anything there. I've got a few nephews, ADD. I've got nephews that are really strange.
Who?
Joe and Philip. Really?
Joel more than Philip.
Yeah, really into him. He's so introverted. There's something going on in there. But Joel was around when Mark was shooting dope, and Mark shot dope right in front of Joel.
Yeah.
And Mark would take Joel with him to the strip joints, and oh man, Mark he made me look sane. Mark got real crazy.
About the doors and the car doors?
Oh, well, certain things like growing up, around this, you sort of just tune into, always be aware of, I could hear a car door open or close, anywhere within the radius of my house, next door, either way, across the street, in front of my house. If someone opened the door or closed it, I heard it. I could hear it in the other side of the house. I could hear, any of the doors of the house, any of those open. I'm coming to and sort of looking around for a little bit, or not even that I wouldn't necessarily come out of my sleep, but I would turn over. If I wasn't facing the door, I would turn towards the door.
You started sleeping with a knife under your pillow.
I still do that. It's not really. I don't know if it's healthy or unhealthy, but even this last year, in my sleeping in my apartment, I sleep with a knife between the wall and my bed, anytime, everywhere. I have it in my room right now. It's just one of those things where wherever I move, it's a big old army knife, about this long, the handle on it, the blade probably about that big. It sleeps behind my head wherever I am, and not to say that anything ever happened to me, because nothing ever did. I never had anyone try to come to my room and do anything, but it's just one of those things, what if, you never know. I probably have a knife fetish. I have a couple knives in my cars. I have a couple knives in my room. I carry, and I always have knives around me somewhere. I always knew when my mom in the kitchen, we used to have you have it in there, that long knife. You had it up under the thing. I always knew where that was. I'd walk in there and just pull it out real fast. It's just always, it was a protection thing.
But I was kind of that way too, though.
Yeah.
So I think that's what, part of it you picked it up that
Yeah.
way, and part of it for your own protection. But I remember I always put golf clubs in the corners so that I always had something to grab and hit with, or bats. I had them all over the house. And of course, you have to have a gun. And
Did you ever have violence in the house or anywhere?
no,
Never got attacked or anything?
When I started
I
getting
didn't
older,
bring many
people-
people to the house.
Yeah, when I started getting older and bigger, and I didn't like people in the house, and I think you knew that.
I didn't like people in the
Yeah.
house. Truthfully, you know, I can't stand to be around drug addicts. They're crazy. Shit. And they're always looking at your stuff. And
Did
say,
you ever draw the blinds and do all that?
Oh no, I wasn't into the paranoia. And the people would come over my house and they'd want to close the blinds, and I'd open back them and say, "Leave them alone." I said, "Damn it!" You know, they'd peek out and something, and I'd say, "If you want to look outside, just open that door and go on out, then look." I didn't go for that. I wasn't into the paranoia.
How did the cocaine affect your thinking or your mood?
I was just busy using the cocaine. I couldn't think, you know. I was short-tempered.
Did you ever get aggressive?
Did I?
Not necessarily aggressive, but like, you know, like Mark does, rages, you know. I don't know what you're doing. I just remember, you know, she would blow up over the stupidest things. You know,
Don't
why
talk
would you-
about the salad.
it's the only thing I was thinking of too. That's the only thing I was thinking of too. No, just in general, over the stupidest things, you know, it's like, why didn't you pull the curtain shut? You know, and why didn't you turn the water off? Why didn't, why didn't you, put your glass up? Why do you care? You know, just things like that.
You know, I've decided that people that are obsessive compulsive, what it is they don't feel they have control over anything, so they control inanimate objects. So that's why Mark, that's why my mother have an immaculate house, because that way they feel they're in control. And you watch when people come into their house and they mess things up,
Oh,
they're nervous and they're
Uneasy.
upset. Yeah, they're very uneasy, and it took years for me to break away from that. As a matter of fact, I had friends that they would practice, come over to my house and sit. To let someone go in my kitchen and pour a glass of milk or something, oh, that was a big thing to me, because they might spill, and I wouldn't know where they spilled. And so,
Speaking of control things, what was it like trying to quit?
don't look at me.
God, I don't know. I mean, I hate to say it, but I can't remember. It really messes up your memory.
Have you noticed any other changes like that from it?
Have I noticed any other changes? Long-term effect from it?
Mm-hmm.
Confidence. I don't think I had much confidence to start with, but it sure didn't help it matters at all. God, that's a major thing. I mean, that affects every facet of my life, though. I mean, it affects interviews for jobs. It affects, meeting someone. I never matured emotionally. A guy puts his arm around me, and sober, I've never had sex sober. I do not know what it's like. And I'm scared to death of a man getting close to me. I don't know if I'll ever be able to. There's a desperation to get the drug, and I've done things I almost broke into a place I worked. I've broken into people's houses, taken brick and threw it, because I knew there was drugs in there, I wanted them. I would have never. It was just unbelievable what you'll do. And try to practically beg people to give you money for some reason or another. If people could only, and the stories I came up with, you spend what part of the time that you're not using, that you're through with the shot or whatever, I was into shooting it, was And like I was telling Andrew the other night, that's the elite group. Them smokers everywhere. But
They're not cool enough.
they're not cool. So, but I would spend all the rest of the time thinking of pecan to get the money. And it amazed me. I mean, I used to use, when I was in my 20s, $500 worth a night. And I didn't steal for it. I manipulated and talked people into buying it and this or that or this. I mean, it was unbelievable. I to this day don't know how I did it. But you think, that's all you do, is you spend every waking moment thinking of how to get the next one.
Did you ever manipulate any doctors for prescriptions?
Oh hell, I had 10 doctors I went to on a regular basis. I had doctors, one of the doctors, I went as a twin. I'm not shitting you, I'm sorry. I went and got another ID instead of Janet Christine LaRocca. One said J. Christine and one said Janet C. And when I was Janet, I was the quiet and reserved one. And when I was Christine, I was myself. And he would write me 2 prescriptions a month. And
Never heard that one before. That's a new one for me.
I pulled that one off. Oh,
That explains why I always knew you had those different names. I never really understood it.
I had one doctor I saw for 10 years, and I managed to only lose a pound every time. Well, I couldn't even have lost that or I'd have been gone, but I got Desoxyn and Desbutal and Prelude from him from 71 through 80 something, till they made it illegal. Got all dressed up and I was short sleeve and I had track marks. I don't know how come they never, I don't understand it. And then I had, those were just my regular doctors, those 2. Then I had other doctors that I saw too when I ran out. I can't tell you how many doctors were in Dallas that I went to and got dope. You just find the ropes, you just figure out who's who and who will write the prescriptions. But there was one doctor in Fort Worth who would never write me a prescription, wrote everyone else, he thought I was the police. So, didn't get it from him. But how it does what?
Brings you to your knees.
Well, I had used every person in Dallas to get it, and I realized I had no more avenues. And I don't know what made me realize, it brought me to my knees. I called my brother in New Orleans, and they shipped me off to it. And it was funny, they told him what to do when I got there. They took my purse, took my keys, and they were right, because before the night was over, I wanted my purse and keys, and I wanted to go back home. I missed 10 flights at Love Field, and I didn't live much further than I do right now from it. I would get there, I'd go back home, do some more dope. But anyway, I remember one time I tried to figure out how to slave labor out my grandmother. Now this is the way your mind is just, it's incredible, the things. My grandmother's, she was there for me, always. They were just, I don't know. I don't know how to put it. I did things I would never in my life dream of doing. When, I did speed years and years and years and years, and it's progressive, but with cocaine, I've seen people lose businesses, go through their life savings in 6 months. I've seen people, they take and trade their car in for dope, because, I don't know what they're thinking. But it just has the quickest, I don't know why it has such a quick bottom, honestly. It's just that you're frantic to get more, and you can use so much of it. It's, with speed, you use it and you go and skits out and you run around, and then, 12 hours later you come back and think, oh, I need some more. But cocaine, you use it, you sit there a minute, you kind of space, start coming down, you go, oh, that would be good again. And you just keep using it. It keeps, it's just like y'all say, it gives you that adrenaline, that fix in your brain that is just undescribable. I can still, if I don't watch, I mean, I can look at a vein and look and remember that feeling. I have to, you know, I trained myself though the last few years to follow it up with the bad stuff because there's a lot of that. Anyway, if this film will help anyone to maybe stop someone from going through what I went through, I mean, it's miserable. And maybe someone will just, you know, I guess if it just helps one person, that's better than nothing. 'Cause, when I was driving and I was high, especially if I was in a hurry to get somewhere, I would go through lights, it didn't matter, but I used to love to just see how fast I could go and just swerve in and out of traffic. But if someone you know, usually I could back people down, you could scare them enough that they would put their brakes on and get out of your way, but some people don't, and that's when the real trouble begins. Because I've had where people wanted to chase me then, and God knows what they were going to do. And of course, at that point, I'm scared, so I'm trying to get away from them. But it's just I got so mad one time. I mean, my eyes went cross-sided, and I just started easing over and purposely trying to run this person off the road. I don't know what he did. He cut in front of me or something. It didn't, you know, it didn't matter. There was just. It was just insane, you know, you just get going.